I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome to My Only Friends. On today's episode, I got to talk with Heather Besignano. Heather is the founder and CEO of Icon PR, overseeing the entertainment and music departments, as well as handling campaigns for authors, CEOs, charitable organizations, and digital creators. I got to learn how Heather started in this industry and how she maintains her mental health in a very demanding job. This episode reminds me of the Friends episode, the one where Ross got high, arguably one of the funniest Friends episodes, and it's the one we talk most about. It was incredibly fun for me to talk to a fellow Friends fanatic. This is the first episode where two people cry on the record over our love for Friends. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Heather Besignano. This podcast episode was recorded before the new podcast guidelines of the SAG-AFTRA strike were released. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Is this good? Do you need me to have headphones in?
Oh, no, this is fine. Your audio sounds great.
Okay, perfect.
And it's audio only, so you don't have to worry about
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Let me get a water really quick. Actually.
Yeah, no problem.
All righty.
Oh, you have a Stanley? I got my little Stanley. It's so funny. Whenever I carry this water bottle, I'm like, oh, where's Stanley? Like, it's like a person or like my child or something. My friend was like, are you going to bring Stanley or leave him in the car? I'm like, we probably shouldn't say that.
That's so funny. I know. And it's like, I feel kind of like a loser because it's like what all the TikTok kids have, but it holds so much water and keeps it cold. And that's all I care about.
I know it does, but I'm peeing like every 45 seconds. I swear to God.
That's good. That's what it's supposed to do.
But I was like, there was this thing I heard it on the radio. It's like, if you pinch your knuckle and it doesn't fall back down into form, it means you're dehydrated. And I'm like,
oh.
And I was like, how am I dehydrated when I drink like 7 of these a day? Like, I'm constantly drinking water. Also, I hate the heat so much. Like, I hate summer. I am not a summer girl. Oh, thank God. People are like, I love summertime. I'm like, no, this is miserable. The bugs, the sweat, like all of it. I can't. I'm so mean when I'm hot.
I am too. And then on top of it, like we get, like our summer always comes after everybody else's. So it just started to get hot and then it's fall. And all I want to do is like drink a pumpkin spice latte and look at spooky things and wear a sweater. And it's 110 degrees outside. And I'm like, This is bullshit.
I know. It'll be like 90 degrees here on Thanksgiving. And you're just like, oh, I hate it. Like I like December through like May are like my favorite months because I'm not hot.
Same. I'm exactly the same.
But you're not from LA originally, correct?
I'm from Houston.
And how long have you been out in LA?
16 years in September.
Wow. Congrats.
Thanks.
That's a long time. You're an Angelino now.
Yeah,
I guess like after 10 years, they say you're an Angelino.
Yeah. I always tell people what I heard originally was if you can stay for 5, then you'll probably stay forever.
Yes. I felt that. Because after I made it like 5 years here, made it in quotations, I was like, okay, I think this is when it's going to stick. Because I had moved here and back like 3 times before it stuck.
I came out here once. I was here for like 6 months, went back. And then I was back home, I think for maybe 8 months or so. Like it wasn't a full year. And I was like, okay, no, I'm ready this time. And that's the time that it stuck. But the first time I wasn't really, I was kind of like fucking around and
right.
Hanging out, going to bars. Like,
same. I was like, I live in California. Ooh. And like didn't do anything. Had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. Didn't know a single person when I moved out here. And then I was just going back and forth from here to Vegas, like nonstop. And it was like, okay, maybe I should like really come up with a plan this time.
Yeah.
What brought you out to LA?
Honestly, I think it was like many things, but I did really want to work in A&R. It was a dream of mine to work with music artists and be one of the people that signs, people, and that didn't work out. I just fell into publicity. Honestly, I I just, I was at the roast of Gene Simmons at the Key Club. And, this friend of the person that I was with was like, I think you'd make a good publicist. You have the personality for it. And I was like, I'm selling lotion at the mall. So if you know somebody that wants to hire me,
oh my gosh,
I'd be like super excited just because I thought, it's an entry into the industry and maybe I would meet somebody in A&R. And I just ended up, starting as an assistant, working my way up to the COO of that company and loving publicity. So that's how that all worked out. Yeah. Also, I was running away from a terrible relationship that I kept getting back into. And I was like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Well, that's good. You jumped into something productive instead of, the opposite where you're like, that's amazing. And now with PR, you have your own company, Icon PR.
Icon PR, yep.
And how did you start building your own company from going like climbing a ladder somewhere else? And then you're like, I'm doing this on my own.
Yeah. So I was at that firm for 10 years. And like I said, I worked my way up to the COO. And at the end of 2017, I just had kind of a vision of how I wanted to do things with a company. There was a lot of people that I was working with that were getting into the digital space. And, my previous company had been around for a long time. They're very much into traditional lifestyle and entertainment PR. And I'm glad I started there because I learned so much from my prior boss. I still have my film and television actors that I work with, but they didn't really have that kind of, digital space interest or knowledge. I broke off and launched Icon PR in January of 2018. And all the while, I told my clients, I said, it's a choice for you if you want to stay or come with me. I didn't go after anybody else at the company. I just told the people that I signed specifically. They all came with me. So that part was like a super easy transition. It was just, getting an LLC and starting a company. And then finding out the day after Christmas, right before I'm going to launch this company, that I was pregnant with my daughter.
Oh my gosh.
So I started a company and had a baby in the same year.
Hey, I mean, women, if we don't do it all, what are we doing?
I know. And it's funny because my husband and I were talking about moving to Nashville at that point. And I was like, we're not moving to Nashville now.
Right. Right.
A company and a baby is enough. We're not moving across the country.
That's so funny. And with PR, publicity, is it PR and publicity? Are those the same things?
Yeah,
Am I an idiot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, public relations.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, hold on. My brain short-circuited. So, I mean, from my perspective, I look at publicity like how it's portrayed on television. Like, when people are calling their PR team to like squash a huge problem or something. Now, is there a show that accurately depicts your career?
I mean, I do think... I haven't seen Hacks yet, and I've heard that it's very good.
Okay. It is
very,
really
very close to what we do. I always think back to like Debbie Mazar's character on Entourage, and I feel like that's they're obviously elevated for television, but I feel like that's a pretty accurate depiction of like the things that we are asked to do. Everything from the red carpets and being asked to get free tickets and free shoes and things like that to having to squash something that has been said or done in a moment's notice or something that's been written about somebody. Yeah. And then I guess like the other person that I would think kind of accurately portrays it would be Samantha Jones on Sex and the City.
Oh, God. I love her so much. She's truly the best. I mean, one of the best female characters ever on television. And just like that is nothing without her. I'll just say that.
It's definitely different. It's Sex and the City light.
Right. Exactly. It's Sex and the City adjacent.
Yeah, I do miss Kim Cattrall on that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. With her, they show a lot of her being like a boss bitch. And I think that's something that also we have to spend a lot of time like making moves and making things happen for our clients, no matter what.
Yeah. So. Now that would lead me to believe that you're really good in stressful situations, because I feel like there's like a little fires to put out.
I think I do best in them, honestly. It's not great for my health. My blood pressure is always through the roof. But
I can imagine.
Yeah, I think I do very well under stress. And I think I do better when there's a lot on my plate. You know, somebody said to me, I think last year, I was like, yeah, I'm a consummate list maker and I do better when there's a lot going on. They're like, oh, you have ADHD. And I was like, yes, how did you know that? And they're like, that's ADHD. Like you need to be able to like tick your things off and have a lot going on because your brain is all over the place.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was literally just having this thought over the past 2 days. Like I will get so busy in a very short amount of time. But within like 4 days, all of a sudden I'm working 2 jobs. I have all these clients. I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing this. And then on my day off, I'm like, oh, I could relax. And that lasts for about 2 hours. And then I'm like, I am worthless. I'm not being productive. Like I'm not working towards anything. Like I do not know how to just sit and relax and be like, Brittany, like you made your money. You got your podcast done. You called your grandma, like calm down. You're fine.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, it's like, is it that we are better when we're productive or we just literally don't know how to sit and be with ourselves for 5 seconds?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I used to be such a great reader. I used to be able to sit and just chill. Having a child definitely killed that for me. I'm hoping in old age, one day I'll be able to revert back to that part of myself. But now it's like, if I'm sitting, like you said, I'm like, there's other things I could be doing right now. Like I need to be folding laundry, making sure that the groceries are done, making sure things are tidy. There's always something that I could be doing. And I'm like, if I don't do it now while I have the time, later on this week when I don't have the time, and it'd be like, past Heather, what the hell was wrong with you? Why did you sit on your ass? You know?
Yeah. I understand. And then I just beat myself up nonstop. And like literally yesterday I had to journal and just be like, stop beating yourself up. It is okay to sit still and do nothing. But I think especially living in LA or like having your own business or, you know, being the person that other people are depending on so much, you just feel like I can't sit and do nothing. Like it's just not possible. And like, I moved away from Las Vegas to come here and pursue something. And the second I sit, I'm like, well, I could be doing this at home. Why did I leave? You know, like, and the strike is not helping that at all.
No, I can only imagine. I mean, I'm very lucky that I have, like I said, some clients that are in the digital space or they're chefs, models, authors, music artists, and I'm not completely, you know, flat out like some of my colleagues that they only rep actors and they're just like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself and my business and my employees. But it's tough. It's tough for all of us. I mean, it's been tough for people for 90 days already, right? I know. It's crazy.
So you work a lot with people in the music industry also.
I do.
And did you initially with A&R, you wanted to do music and now you're doing publicity for musicians?
Correct. Yeah.
What have you seen like change so much? Because I could imagine a lot has changed with social media and the way we consume music and I mean, television, everything, or like audiobooks. And so did streaming like put a really hard, did you guys like take a hit with streaming or is it easier?
I would say it's really hard to break artists now. You know, back in the day when I started publicity, you know, 15 years ago, and I started working with music artists, you could take an indie artist who had true talent, and you could still get them pressed. I think that's really difficult to do now because the problem with the media outlets are they need click-throughs to sustain themselves, right? They need that so that they can say to advertisers, this is how many unique views we get monthly. You can put an ad banner here and pay. That way we can pay our staff. So it's few and far between when they're talking to somebody who's an unknown. And it really sucks that it's kind of come to that, which is a whole other conversation in itself. But that I think is the biggest change. Like if somebody doesn't have high social media numbers, they're not already a known artist, getting them great press is very difficult. They either need to like be on a tour working with some big name music artists. They're going to be signing to a label. Just being like an indie talent at home, that's really hard. And that's like been the swiftest change. I mean, the streaming of it all has been very interesting because they do look at streaming numbers now too and see like, oh, you know, does this person only have 15,000 listens or do they have millions of listens? And you can see that right then and there on a Spotify link. It's not, you're not hiding it from anybody. And then, you know, they're not making any money off the stream. So that's a whole other thing too. And I also think the way that music has changed over the last 15 years is there are no like great artists anymore, not in terms of like rock and roll stars and things like there's of course like your Taylor Swifts and people like that are huge and worldwide and are global artists and they're massive, but they're all in the pop space in my opinion. Yeah. Like those huge names. Feel like the rock star is dead, which is so sad to me.
It's interesting because I was thinking about it. I mean, obviously NSYNC and Britney Spears, that's what I grew up on. And I look at like the units they were selling when they had come out and they didn't have social media. MySpace wasn't even a thing back then. So I'm like, how did these artists become so huge and break all these records when they essentially had no social media at all? And now it's like, if you don't have any social media, you can't get there. So it's very interesting.
It's a very interesting dynamic in how things have shifted there. I mean, also, you know, you had to buy the whole album, right? And you listened from it from front to back. You might have like, oh, I don't like number 5, I skip it or whatever. But like, you listen to the whole album. Now people, I feel like half the artists don't even make albums anymore because what's the point unless you're Beyonce or Taylor Swift again? Like, who's really going to listen to the whole thing? And that's when you see a lot of singles being released. Maybe you get an EP, but it's another thing that's changed. I feel like the album itself is kind of a dead situation for a lot of artists because people just want to hear the hits. And albums aren't always hits. They're a love letter through music, you know?
Yeah. Which is, it's insane what Taylor Swift is doing. I mean, I probably am responsible for 90% of her listens on Spotify. Like I'm the 32-year-old woman sitting alone on a Saturday night watching a shaky TikTok live stream of her concert, like dying to go to it. And I've been, but I'm like, I have to go again. And her albums, like you said, they're a love letter. And you listen to them like they are a complete story because they are. And I am trying to think of like what other artists I'd listen to. Like they'll come up on my Spotify, but I'm not going and listening to the whole album. I'll listen to that one song that comes up on the playlist. None of it really intrigues me to go, oh, I want to hear like the entire album of this. Yeah. What was the album that you were listening to nonstop before Spotify came along?
Oh, God, that's a great question. There's so many because I've always been so musically influenced. But like the first thing that comes to the top of my head is Death Cab for Cutie's Transatlanticism. That is one of my favorite albums of all time. I'm super pumped. They're playing it from front to back at on this tour that they're on this year. And
did you go or you are going?
I'm going. It's in October at the Hollywood Bowl.
Nice.
And I think it's the 20th year anniversary of that album. Yeah. So that's definitely, I mean, there's so many that I've listened to from front to back, but that's the one that like still to this day, when I put it on, the first like note that hits on the very first song, like gives me chills still.
I love that. I mean, I feel that way with NSYNC. I saw the new Trolls trailer and they started singing I Want You Back in it. And I was like, I'm going to cry.
I was at event a couple of months ago. My client was on a series and Lance Bass was at the event and at the after party.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, you saw my photo. It's Freeform's Cruel Summer, and it's set in the 90s this season, which is so funny because none of the kids who are playing these characters were alive during the 90s, and they were asking them about Y2K, and they were like, I wasn't even born.
You're like, shut up.
I walked into this after party that they had set up as if it was New Year's Eve 1999, and they had like 2000 in big shiny sequin letters in the back with a DJ playing all the hits. And I saw Lance Bass singing Bye, Bye, Bye. And I was like, I think my brain just exploded.
That is...
like he was just like, you know, not on stage. He's just like with his husband having a great time and just like, no big deal. This is just me.
My head would have absolutely exploded.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I spray tanned one of the Pussycat dolls and had that experience. I was like, how am I with a Pussycat doll right now? Like
I used to represent one.
Oh, we'll talk about that later. But she was great. She was amazing. And my brain the whole time, I was like, is this like, if somebody would have told me at 15 years old that would have happened, my head would have exploded. And it's like, I love those moments. And I feel like that happens a lot in Los Angeles and I never get sick of them. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I've lived here for so long. Who cares if I see so-and-so at the grocery store? I'm like, no, that's amazing to see Joey Lawrence at Ralph's. Okay.
Yeah. We were eating at Osteria La Buca and Gavin Rossdale was there with his kids. And I was like, oh my God, not going to bother you, but so sexy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. I saw him and Selma Blair getting a coffee at Erewhon together. And I was like, this is so strange. Yeah. Anyways.
People always ask when they come to LA, like, where's a good place to see celebrities? Should I go like Hollywood Boulevard? I'm like, no, you should come to Studio City and just like go to the grocery store.
Yeah. And that's funny. Like you and I, whenever I see you, we talk about all our old pop punk days of just like loving that music and everything. And it's interesting how you hear all these songs come back also on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine like that helps a lot of these people still have longevity as all these TikTok trends. So it's such a like, do you have a love-hate relationship with social media or does it really help your job?
I would say I have a love-hate with it because I personally, for my own personal use, don't really care that much about it. I still like Facebook the most because it's where like all my friends from back in the day are still on and I can see their cute kids and what they're doing with their life, even though I can't talk to them all the time. For my job, it's like, it's such a catch-22 because it's become this like resume for actors and artists and stuff. And it has to have a certain look and they've got to have all the numbers. And again, it's like you could have a super talented artist or an actor who's on the come up and is going to be in some huge role. But when I'm pitching them, a lot of the media are like, oh, I did a Google search on them and like their numbers aren't high. And I'm like, the job is there. Like, what do we care if they have 50 million followers or not? And then it just blows my mind sometimes when I go on somebody's page and they have like something crazy, like 377 million followers. And I'm just like, oh my God, there's not many people in the world that are looking at everything you do. This is crazy to me. And from a publicity standpoint, we now have to watch all of that too. Like if you have somebody that's like not minding their manners on social media and going off the rails with comments and things, that becomes a PR disaster. And we have to figure that out.
Right.
And people don't want to be told what to do. So it's difficult.
How do you shut your brain off at night though? Because I mean, I was a personal assistant for a very short amount of time. And I always felt like I could never not have my phone on me. And I would wake up in a panic, like, oh my God, I have all these text messages. And I'd go to bed like, okay, did I do this? Did I do this? And it was like the worst my mental health had ever been. And it was like the worst my personal life got no attention whatsoever because I was just like constantly focused on making somebody else's life easier. Yeah. How do you maintain your own mental health and like compartmentalize this job? Because I'm sure you're always needed.
Yeah, I am. When you own the company, especially, it's not just the clients, it's the employees that always need you too. But I will say, again, it's been 15 years. It'll be 16 years, early next year of doing this job. And I definitely have allowed myself boundaries over the last 5+ years in it. I used to be the person, I'll never forget, my husband used to be a touring musician, and he also worked at a nightclub when he wasn't touring as the sound manager. So he was there, Thursday through Sunday working late night. And I would just be like, oh, well, I'm going to drink some wine and watch a movie and get through some emails. And this manager one time, it was like a Friday or a Saturday at 11 p.m. And she goes, is this coming in at real time? Please stop emailing. Go live your life.
Yeah.
That I used to be that. I was constantly, and to the point that it put me in the hospital at one point in time because of just high blood pressure and all this stuff. And I still do have high blood pressure. But now it's I make a conscious choice of when I'm putting that phone down. My phone is always on vibrate. I do not have my phone on sound at all, ever. During the day, I wear my Apple Watch so that if I'm not by it and somebody needs to get a hold of me, they know where to reach me. But once I take that Apple Watch off at night, I don't really look at it. I look at it to a certain point. I check to make sure that there's no fires or anything, but once it's down, it's down. And I just had to do that because, and even then, like you said, well, how do you turn it off? I dream about my job. I have dreams about clients. I have dreams about, I think about a million things before I go to sleep as my head hits the pillow. It's just my life is constantly thinking about all of these things and what I need to do and checklists. And did somebody send that car service information? And is everything going to be okay? And worried about something that's going on. Mm-hmm. But, on the same beat of that, I also am look, if my daughter has a dance recital, I'm going to that dance recital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If a friend is celebrating their 50th birthday and they're one of my best friends, I'm going to that 50th birthday. Mm-hmm. And I just feel as a whole, as human beings, we need to be better about reminding each other that we are all human and that we, all have these things that we need to do for ourselves. And we're not, owned by anyone. We don't owe ourselves to anyone. And, you can be very good at your job and very there for your friends and your family and your job, but you also have to do what's best for yourself. At the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, who's going to be sitting there next to you? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I think we all get so bogged down with the day-to-day of our to-do lists, and we only feel worthy or productive if we're crossing off things on our to-do list. Mm-hmm. And it's we forget that we are just human beings trying to all figure it out as we go. And it's definitely a lesson to be compassionate to yourself and ask yourself what you really need right now. And especially and like you said, everyone's going through this. So it's when people come into my job or you deal with people and you're what is wrong with this person? And it's well, they're probably already asking themselves, what is wrong with me? Why am I acting like this? Because I know that's what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, what would you say is the most fulfilling part of your job? What keeps you so ignited in this business?
I just love being there for people's big wins. I will be 1000% honest. Red carpets are the bane of my existence, which is so funny for what I do, but it's so much hoopla. You know what I mean? And I've done so many of them, I think, over the years. Is now a lot of my team members will be the ones to go cover them just because they're young and it's exciting. And, they have never been to such and such event before. And I've been 10 times.
What was your first one that was really exciting? Your first red carpet?
Oh my God. My first exciting carpet. I don't really know. I have been to a lot, but probably, I had my former boss had clients that were in the Twilight series and I worked on their accounts. And I got to go to every single one of those premieres from the first to the last.
Talk about hoopla. My gosh. Yeah,
it was big. The last two were held at Staples Center it got so big.
Wow.
And that was really cool because I was a huge fan of the books. So I was this is amazing. I get to be a part of this pop culture phenomena and be here with these crazy screaming fans. And by that point in time, cast members like know who you are because you've done so much with your other clients that are in the film. It was like a very surreal moment, you know? Other than that, it's like, you know, when I've gotten to take my clients and they're nominated for an Emmy or a SAG award or a Grammy, and I'm there with them on that carpet. And that is like why I do this, like this buzz of like, okay, you could win something tonight that's like life altering for your life, your career, your everything that you've been putting your time and effort into all of these years. You could get your accolades for this. And when that happens, like I still freak out and scream when they say my client's name.
Yeah. Well, because you see all the hard work that goes into it and you see all the quote unquote hoopla and you're like, it's, you know, you're not getting to the finish line, but you're like, oh, I'm working for a reason. I'm doing this for a reason. Like this is possible. It's like the hope of it all, you know, it is exciting.
Like when it's their first, you know, big film and it's like the first time they're getting to step out on a carpet like that, where the people have their photograph and are asking for their autograph and screaming their name. I love being a part of the firsts, you know, a first big magazine cover, a first late night talk show, you know, helping them prep for that and the excitement that goes into it. You know, when I've had clients that are New York Times bestsellers and getting to call them and say like, you're a #1 New York Times bestseller. Congratulations. Or, hey, you just got nominated for an Emmy. Congratulations. Like those are the things that I really love. And I do have clients that I've had for 10 to 15 years that I feel, you know, very close to them. I've been through so many things in their lives, you know, the ups, the downs, and it's pretty incredible. Yeah. It's a hard job though.
Right. You know? I mean, you know, being an actor, people don't understand, like 9 times out of 10, it's all no. There's always a hurdle standing in your way and you have to be incredibly resilient. And it's not just, you know, I know for me, when I don't book something or if I get a call back and I don't book it or this or that, like I am terrified my agent's going to drop me. I'm like, oh my God, she's going to drop me. But it's also like, no, she believes in me too. And like, she is also on my side. So it's the same with, you know, publicity, like you are rooting for everybody and you are believing in them. And so like my win is your win and vice versa.
Yeah. I just want like, you know, the world to see them and get to know all these intricate details about what makes them tick. Like I always say, everybody has their kinky kinks and like that makes them different and makes them, you know, interesting or weird or whatever it might be about that person. But, you know, I love getting to share, you know, their background story. And if somebody is like a juggler or something, you know, it's so interesting and weird that you wouldn't know about this person. And also I love, you know, a lot of my clients are very into activism or, you know, very outspoken about changes that need to be made in the world. And I think that really speaks to me. I like to be a part of helping them elevate their voices in those areas and allowing to try to make good in this world with everything else going on. Because at the end of the day, like I tell people, this is PR, not the ER. And like, we're not saving lives over here, but we can make changes. So I want to try to help do that with the clients that have the opportunity to do it because of their platforms.
Right. You know, I love that because I feel like some publicists are probably like, oh God, please don't talk about this subject where you're like, no, let's make a change. So that's really admirable. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a thin line that you have to walk, especially in the culture that we're living in today, where you have the jury of social media before you have facts on people. And that's extremely difficult for you know, people that are passionate about things, because one wrong thing said and it's like you're canceled, you know? So that's definitely something that goes into the conversations that I have with people of like, where are we taking this? And are you going to really stand behind it? Because you might not like what the response might be, you know?
Right. What would you say is the one quality that your clients have where you see like all of them persist in this career and like they all keep going? Like, what is the quality that they all have that stands out the most that has kept them in this industry so long?
I mean, it really just is about perseverance because, like you said, you get so many no's and you get on a show and then it gets canceled after 2 seasons, or your character gets killed, or, you were this close. It was you and one other person, and you thought that this role was yours, and now it's not. And, I worked with Penelope Ann Miller when she was doing press for The Artist. And, she's such a lovely woman. And she said, people remember me from Carlito's Way and Pee-wee and all, she was a huge actress. And she's like, I have had trouble working for a while. This is a big deal for me. And you don't think about that, like that you could be one of the biggest actors on the face of the earth. And then like, you're just not hot right now. So then people don't book you for something until you're hot again. And then you say the same people like popping up in movies and shows over and over and over again, because they're hot at the moment. But it's like you said earlier, it's a constant circle of disappointment and being told that you're not good enough. And I think, to get through all of that and want to continue to do this has to just be a love for the craft itself. Yeah. And it's really just that of, again, the perseverance and saying like, I want this enough that I'm going to keep doing it no matter what. Yeah. Because it's very easy to say I'm over it to anything. Right. Right. Absolutely. Now, I feel like what helps me is that I'm perpetually stuck in 1998. And somebody literally responded to my story and they told me, you are perpetually stuck in 1998. And I was like, yes, of course. Because I was watching Will and Grace. And I do this thing where once I start watching a show, I then have to YouTube and look up every single acceptance speech from these actors. I'm like, did they win an Emmy? Did they win an Emmy? Did they win an award? Because I'm like, they're so incredibly good. And then I literally will go down the rabbit hole. And of course, all roads lead to Jennifer Aniston. And I end up watching every single acceptance speech she ever has and just like sobbing my face off. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm doing this for, because one day that's going to be me. I just know it. I just feel it in my bones, which leads me to Friends, which is your go-to show, which I'm so excited to talk about. And like talking about like the heat and the weather, I was so excited that one of your favorite episodes that you chose was the Thanksgiving episode, because for 22 minutes, I forgot that I was living in hell. Like the Thanksgiving, like I always think of Friends when I think of Thanksgiving episodes. Like they just have the most iconic Thanksgiving episodes. So I want to hear, like, were you watching Friends? Like, was it like once a week? I gotta turn on Thursday nights, NBC, I'm watching Friends. Or did you get into it more as you got older? Like, how is your love affair with Friends? I'm 41 years old, so I definitely was watching it in real time as it came on every Thursday. Having those big cliffhangers at the end of seasons, will they, won't they, with Ross and Rachel. And when the finale aired, I was like sobbing hysterically as if somebody had murdered my loved ones, because it was so sad. I still do. I will not watch season 10. Like, really? I could go to a trivia night and crush it season 1 through 9. Season 10, I don't know that much about, because I don't need to know that the show's about to end. It makes me too sad. It's like crippling to me. Oh, yeah. I mean, I still weep every time that episode is watched. Yeah. And to me, it is one of the most perfect endings to a television series. It's so hard to get those right. And they're so often not done well at all. And to just see, I'm going to start crying now. This is crazy. I'm such a freak about this show. No, I love it. I'm not my person. To see them like all put their key down. No, stop. And like walk in. Oh my God. And then they focus in on the frame on the door. And I'm like, no. Oh my God, Heather, no, I'm crying. Why are we crying? Oh my God. Oh my God.
No, this is the first time two people have cried on this podcast, but of course it's over Friends.
Over Friends.
But I get it though, because it just symbolizes like the most significant chunk of time, like coming to an end. And like why are we both crying?
I really hope somebody from the show listens to this and it's like, oh gosh, good. All these years later.
Literally. But I am the same way. I mean, I think too, because we feel so close to these people and like, you can't tell me they're not real people that don't exist in this world. Like but seeing it end and seeing all that they've gone through, and then also knowing all they've gone through together as a cast. And like they changed. I mean, it's a historical show. It is still the most successful show. I mean,
it's timeless too. Like even the fact that they're using like in-home phones to call each other and not cell phones and beepers. And they do use beepers later on in some of the later seasons. But, you know, there's those things that do kind of date it just a bit. But I don't feel like it feels dated when you're watching. Almost akin to like one of my other favorite shows of all time is I Love Lucy. And I feel like even though it's black and white, and clearly the wardrobe and the style and everything else is so different, I feel like it's timeless. Like you could just watch these people live these lives till the end of time. And it's never going to feel like, oh my God, that was so long ago.
Right. I agree. And there's something that's always relatable, especially like, I mean, I grew up watching it with my parents. My parents always watched sitcoms and my mom watched Friends every week. And I remember episodes from when I was a kid. And then of course, like TBS started playing it. And so I would always watch, or like Nick at Night, but it wasn't until it came on Netflix that I was like, I mean, I genuinely cannot sleep if I don't have Friends on. And like, at first, like I didn't have a TV in my room back home, and it was like during COVID, and I would play it from my phone and fall asleep. Like it was a podcast or something. Like I just had to be listening to them in order to go to sleep. And even every night, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I have to put it on because my ruminating thoughts are instant. Like I wake up and I'm thinking 30 million negative things. And to snap myself out of that, I have to put Friends on, and I know it so well that I can just close my eyes and that becomes all I'm listening to instead of my own negative like self-talk. But with Friends, it's one of those things where like I have watched it religiously probably from the time I was like 20 and now I'm 32. I still relate to every single episode. Like, and I think because I am the same age as them in these seasons that it's, and you know, Marta Kaufman says it's like the show, the time of your life where your friends are your family. And that is what time I'm in right now, where like, I don't have my own family. My family is back home and my friends here are my family. So it's so, but then of course, I mean, I talk to my therapist and I'm like, why can't people just hang out all the time? Like, I would love if I came home and everybody was at my coffee table. And she's like, because that show's written, Brittany. It's not real. And I'm like, but I want it to be real so bad.
I know. Now, if you like, which character do you most relate to?
I mean, I think Rachel, because, you know, she left a comfortable situation to come be on her own and get a job. And then she was bad at every job she had and same. And then, you know, she kind of, the one with where Rachel steals Monica's thunder. It's like, you know, she's not angry at Monica, but she feels sad because all her friends are getting married and, you know, moving in and this and that. And she's like, I'm not. And I feel related to that. And also, you know, she works really hard and then she has this amazing life for herself. She didn't do anything the conventional way, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really relate to her the most. What about you?
It's funny, but I am like a Monica to a T. I'm so A-type personality. Things need to be in their place. Like have the fancy guest towels.
That's so funny.
And not who I thought I would be growing up at all. But yeah, I think anybody who knows me well would agree that I am a Monica through and through.
That's so funny because I feel like I attract the Monicas. Like it's like opposites attract. And like, yeah. I am more just like complete organized chaos. Like I don't know how to organize anything to save my life. I'm just constantly winging it. And the episode where Rachel hasn't packed yet and she was like, I left it all for you. Like that is what I do to my best friend, Sarah, all the time. I'm like, you love doing this. You get to pack my suitcase for me. Aren't you so excited?
Yeah.
It is not me.
That I am the one doing all of the packing. Yep.
Yeah. Now, the episode you chose, the one where Ross got high, is like one of the best episodes ever. And I was going to ask you, did your parents ever catch you getting high?
No. I mean, they definitely knew that I was smoking weed, but they did not catch me getting high.
It was funny because I'm like, this, again, it still goes back to like, it's so relatable because you forget that these people, I mean, the cast, that they're in their 20s still, like not even 30, and they're getting caught by their parents smoking weed. And I'm like, but they seem like such adults. Like, why do they care still? But the scene where Judy is like, that's a lot of information to get in 30 seconds. It's easily the best scene.
My favorite. That is why I love that. I mean, the whole episode itself is good. Like, obviously, like, Ross and Monica are fighting and like outing each other about things. And Joey just wants to go be with the hot models. Mm-hmm. And Rachel's got the trifle that's becoming a disaster. And it's just like everything when they rattle everything off and then like Joey's like, I want to go.
I cannot tell you how many times I say I want to go like that and nobody knows what it's from. Mostly when I'm at work. I wasn't
supposed to put beef in the trifle. Yeah. No, you were not. It was not good.
See, and I'm a horrible cook too, just like Rachel. But all the time, I'm always like, I want to go. And people think I'm probably just being a brat, but I'm like, it's Joey. I'm being Joey, you guys.
Joey's so great. Again, that episode's just so, and like Ross is like shoving the meat trifle in his mouth so that nobody hears that so Rachel doesn't hear that it's bad. And he's like, it tastes like feet.
You've seen that blooper, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. People send me bloopers of Friends all the time. And I have probably watched, there's like YouTube videos of like half hour, 45 minutes of just straight Friends bloopers. And every single time I'm always like, it tastes like feet. Like, it's so good.
Like, meat good, jam good. Nope, got yours and got yours too. It's just like there's so many one-liners from that episode.
I love Jacques Cousteau.
And then Judy says, Phoebe, I'm sorry. I think Jacques Cousteau is dead.
Oh my God, it's so good.
She's like obsessed with the dad drinking the condensed milk. Yes. She had this sex dream about him. I'm just like, what is happening in this episode? It is good.
Truly. I mean, and that's the thing. That's why we need to pay the writers, because that is the most... All their Thanksgiving episodes are so well written. One of my like all-time favorite episodes of Friends is the one with Rachel's other sister and Christina Applegate, which is the Thanksgiving episode too. And I think I'm always like, that's a funny noise. And I'm always like, because when she's like, oh, I'm Phoebe, she goes, that's a funny noise. It's so good.
Phoebe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, is there a line from Friends you quote like all the time that people don't get?
I don't think so, just because my friends are old and mostly know what I'm talking about. I do that same I want to go all the time to people. I'm sure there's people that think I'm insane when I'm doing it. I feel like I'm quoting them constantly in my life, and who knows if people are always understanding that it's a quote from a television series, because I forget that everybody else hasn't watched every single episode on repeat 1 billion times.
Same. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I left a party last week because somebody didn't know who Rachel Green was, and I left. I said, these are clearly not my people and I have to go.
I got to get out of here.
Like, we were playing that like celebrity fishbowl game, and I wrote Rachel Green, and everybody kept passing on it. They're like, who's Rachel Green? And I was like,
oh my God.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I have to go. Bye. And I straight up left. I was like, that's my cue. I gotta go.
I have like my Thanksgiving tradition is that I wake up every Thanksgiving morning. I have to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Mm-hmm. It's like I like still cry when it starts coming on. I feel like a little kid. It's like, ooh, start of Christmas, it's coming. Mm-hmm. And then once that's over, like I get ready, like, you know, I make breakfast, whatever for the family. And then I get ready, put on the Cowboys game. And then as soon as that is over, it's episodes of Friends Thanksgiving until it's time to eat. Like I put them on and are on like from season 1 through 10. And I'm like, this is what we're doing today. And if you don't like it, you need to leave.
Well, I'm going to take that as my invite.
Yeah. You're like, I know where I'll be on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom. Bye. Now, growing up, when was the first time you saw yourself in a character watching TV?
Wow. Good question. This is going to take me a minute. Trying to think like what I was watching growing up that spoke to me. Because I definitely didn't think like I'm a Monica until later on in life, for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't think I really, like you said, they always seemed so old to me when I was younger. Yeah. Like these people are older. God, I don't know. This is really rocking my brain.
I mean, or just like when you were younger, when you were watching TV, was there like a show where you were just like, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to do.
I'm just trying to think like what I really loved growing up. Like I said, I Love Lucy. I always have since I was little. When I was like really little, it was like original Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. That was very much into, you know, Tiffany Amber Thiessen and Mark Paul Gosselaar. Why did everybody have 3 names?
I know, right?
That was a thing.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Right? Why in the 90s did we all have 3 names?
It's so funny because I'm rewatching Will and Grace, and every time, like, instead of saying like, oh shit, or like something like that, Jack will say, Sarah Michelle Gellar, what just happened? Like, he'll say like celebrities with 3 names, and it's the funniest thing in the world to me.
You know, speaking of Will and Grace, my friends used to say I was such a Karen, and I would be like,
funny.
And I'd be, honey, what's this? What's that?
So you do you do a great Karen voice.
Yeah.
She's incredible. I mean, again, that's why I'm hooked on that show. But I have like, I'll watch Will and Grace during like while I'm winding down. And then when I go into my room, I turn on Friends.
Yeah. I think the thing that I'm like, I can't really think of anything from my younger days is because I really wasn't allowed to watch a ton of television, which is wild. So my stepfather was very much into making sure you got good grades and studying. And so I was allowed after school to come straight home, and I could do my homework or read the encyclopedia or do chores, but I was not allowed to talk on the phone, watch TV, or listen to the radio. And so I really only did that like when I was super, super younger, like after school at my grandmother's house. I saw like Saved by the Bell and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff. And then once I got older, like late in high school into college is when I really started watching television. I mean, my amount of TV that I watched probably from like junior high through like a junior in high school was my parents used to always tape SNL and I would get to watch it Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings. And they knew the parts that were like not appropriate for us to watch, and they would fast forward through them. So I did a lot of SNL watching, but I didn't really watch a ton of television until I got older. And still to this day, I pick things that I'm interested in, and then I watch like the entire series and then start something else. Like I don't watch like a ton of stuff at once. I just finished Better Call Saul. So I don't know. I think that's why I couldn't answer that question, because I'm like, I don't really think I watched enough stuff to be able to say.
That's so funny. Yeah. I'm like, maybe my parents should have given me a book when I was younger.
I mean, it wasn't fun. I tell you television. That. I was like, I'm done with my homework. I've been done for hours. And he'd be like, you could read the encyclopedia. I'm like, what?
God. Oh, no. I couldn't.
I was like 13. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
So did you rebel when you got older?
Oh, yeah. I was terrible. It was horrific. They got a divorce when in between my like junior and senior year of high school. And I just went, like balls to the wall. I was a wild child.
Do you have siblings?
I have a younger half sister.
Okay. Cause that's what I was going to ask too with Ross and Monica, like that episode with, the one where Ross got high is like the perfect description and like dynamic of siblings. Were you and your sister like that? Like, was one of you the tattletale and one of you was a party child?
I will say my sister did not tattletale on me being a party child. So that she was old enough at that point. But when we were younger, man, we used to go at it. So
sisters are vicious. Sisters are vicious.
I chased her into her bedroom with a butcher knife.
Oh my God. No, you know what? I swear to God, sisters are so physically mean to one another when we're little. I don't know what it is.
She stomped on my forearm wearing a boot. I mean, hello, we're from Texas. And I was like laying on the ground reading a book like on my side. And she was pissed and stomped on my forearm with a boot and fractured my forearm. I mean, we would beat the crap out of each other. And now when people are like, your daughter should have a sibling. I'm like,
nope. Hide the knives.
We weren't that nice to each other growing up. I don't know that I want that.
Yeah, I know. I know a lot of sisters growing up that were just so physically violent with each other. And I don't know what it is. And it was never like brothers. Brothers were just like, broing out and like they'd roughhouse or whatever. But it was never, when I would see all my friends growing up, all had older sisters, younger sisters, and the physical violence that happens between two sisters is terrifying.
Oh, yeah. It's aggressive.
Yeah. Now, would you say that Friends, like I know for me, Friends has helped me through many mental health struggles or times where I was feeling very alone or times when I was just feeling sad. And I was like, I know that if I turn Friends on, I will turn this mood around. Mm-hmm. Has Friends gotten you through a hard time or how does it help your mental health?
Well, it's funny that you were talking about falling asleep to it earlier, because until I had my daughter, we used to always have a television in the bedroom and I fell asleep every single night to Friends as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, from probably college until 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then once we had her, she was sleeping in our room and like the light of the television was bothering her. And it's funny, it like weaned us off of the TV when we moved into our new house. We just didn't even put one in there. But yeah, I mean, I needed it to go to sleep. I needed it if I woke up. Still to this day, if my husband's like out of town or something, once I go into the bed, I have to like take an iPad in with me and put it on because I'm like, feel very alone in here.
Yeah.
Like, I need something comforting. And it is that thing when you're like scrolling and you're just like, I don't like nothing's speaking to me right now. Yeah. Like I don't really, I'm like, well, it's going to be Friends because I know I still like literally the word for it is guffaw at like how hard I laugh at some of the things. I'm like, I have probably seen this episode, no lie, 100 times, and it's still making me laugh this hard. And it's gotten me through breakups and sad times and all of the good stuff, it just, you put it on and it's kind of like Disneyland for me. Like I go there and even though like we're in California, like you're right outside of LA, I feel like I've gone to a better place.
Yeah. That is so funny. And it's so true. And I mean, just having it on in the background too, as like you're getting things done, there's just something just makes you feel very safe. Like nothing bad's going to happen while I'm watching Friends. It can't. That's like, it's the law. I don't know. It just can't happen. Now, is your daughter watching it with you at all?
I haven't like not shown it to her. I'm sure it's probably been on when she's been in the room before, but I haven't like sat down and been like, okay, this is Friends.
This is the Holy Grail. Sit down.
I think she's probably still too young to like find it entertaining. You know what I mean? She's only 5. So she'll probably be like, why am I watching these adults talk in a coffee shop?
I mean, I remember being 5 years old and the one scene I remember so much is when Ross and Rachel had sex in the caveman exhibit. And
oh my God.
That was like the one thing I remembered from watching it.
I remember that.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, I was like, I don't know if it was just because it was so shocking and like, what is that? Or just being a pervert. I don't know.
Maybe a little of the
maybe a little both. But I was just like, wow, what is happening? And it was like that episode the football episode and then the one with the prom video. Those are the ones from my childhood I remember so much. And as I've gotten older, those are also some of my absolute favorite episodes. Like, I don't know if it's because they remind me of my childhood or because they're just incredible episodes and they resonate with me now.
Yeah, it's probably a mix of the two because there's definitely nostalgia there. And like, you know, I think it's again, to talk about like I Love Lucy, that was on in my house a lot when I was, you know, Nick at Night when I was a kid was I Love Lucy and Laverne and Shirley and things like that. And, you know, I still laugh at her today, Lucille Ball, and the thing that the antics she would have going on in that show. So I think, you know, part of that is it was funny writing and good acting, but also very nostalgic for me to watch it, you know?
Right.
And I did like Friends, like I was in college when they ended that show. And I do think back, like my roommates and I went to A&M and we used to get these things called pizza rolls from like a local pizza place every Thursday. That was our thing. Like we would get together and we would watch Friends in the living room together. And I remember that to this day. Yeah.
You should go to the Friends exhibit in Long Beach.
There's a Friends exhibit in Long Beach? How did I not know about that?
Yeah, I went to it a couple months ago. I mean, it was a little bit of false advertising. The one in New York is definitely more plush and it had like Monica's full apartment and Joey's full apartment. This one just kind of has like a sliver of each one. But still, as a Friends fan, you'll enjoy going because there's like a ton of photo ops and then it's like a Friends museum, basically. Yeah. And it's just like when we went there, to bring it back to earlier, they were playing clips and they played the clip of when she got off the plane and I was crying before we even got into this exhibit. And I was like, God bless America. Like, why? Because like, I won't watch it. I refuse to watch them because they make me so emotional. Like, I just don't want to know that it's ever ending.
I've watched the reunion 3 times and I've cried every single time.
The reunion makes me so happy when everybody from around the world is talking about what Friends means to them. I'm just like, oh my God. And it just makes me so happy that like these people, I mean, it's got to feel incredible to be an actor and get to that level where like you are universally, like you have helped somebody through a hard time. And you know, it's people in hospitals because Friends is always on. Like they're watching Friends all the time. Like my best friend had her baby while Rachel was having her baby on screen. And like a close family friend right now has been in the hospital and she's like, thank God I have Friends right now. Like just watching Friends every day, all night. And it's like, I've, you know, been in the hospital where thank God right before I went into surgery, Friends was playing. When I woke up, Friends was playing. I was like, oh, thank God. Like, yeah. And they're very just comforting. Now, who would you want to date out of the men on there? Ross.
Oh, Chandler, hands down. Yeah.
I could see that.
I married a Chandler.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the personality, you know, it's not so much the looks, but more the personality. I think my ex was more of a Ross.
Oh no.
I just like somebody who makes me laugh, you know?
Yeah.
Like a funny guy.
I mean,
and I'm a Monica, so that's how it works out.
There you go. You found your Chandler. And talk about an episode that always makes me cry is the proposal episode. No matter what, I'm sobbing.
Yeah, that one is incredible. I think one of my favorite episodes is also when Chandler and Monica are getting married and Rachel has found out that she's pregnant. And then
so good.
She's like, they all go in, they do the pregnancy test in the bathroom. And she's like, Phoebe's like, you're not pregnant. And she's like, I'm not. And she's like, no, you are. And she's like, that's a risky little game.
It's so amazing. And also like watching it from an actor's perspective, I'm always like, you don't know how many times they had to do that take. And it's like to have that control of that emotion and like be able to portray it. So again, you can't tell me these aren't real people. They are all like Jennifer Aniston is Rachel Green. Rachel Green is Jennifer Aniston. Like they are the same person to me. And I like watching those scenes where they are the more emotional scenes. I'm like, they just make it all look so easy. Like they make it look so incredibly easy.
They really do. And, that's such a blessing and a curse for actors, though. Like when you are known, as Harry Potter or
Right.
Ross, and especially when you have like a very specific voice or look or something, yes, they have that infamy for the rest of their lives, but then it's hard. It's hard for me. What was the name of that show? Was it the O.J. Simpson show that Ryan Murphy did?
Oh, the
And
true crime.
and David Schwimmer was one of the lawyers.
Yeah.
And I had the hardest time hearing his voice and not being like, why is Ross Geller on this trial? Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, clearly he's a great actor and doing a good job at portraying this role. I'm just, in my head, he is Ross Geller. Like, why is he in that courtroom right now?
Yeah, that's how. But did you watch The Comeback with Lisa Kudrow?
I haven't watched that one yet.
Oh my God, it's so amazing. And that is like, I thought I would feel the same way with Phoebe. Like, I'm just going to be thinking it's Phoebe. But no, she is completely opposite than Phoebe in this. And it's brilliant. And today's actually her birthday. So happy birthday, Lisa Kudrow.
Happy birthday, Lisa.
Because she's for sure listening to this. You know that, right?
I hope so. I hope they're sitting at home wondering what we think of them.
Exactly. That's all they do. I'm sure of it. Well, Heather, this has been a lot of fun. Yeah. And I am very grateful that you came on here to do this and that we can talk about Friends every time I see you now.
Yeah.
I want to ask you before you leave, what is the most useful piece of advice that you've gotten for either your career or your mental health, or the best piece of advice that you would give to somebody?
I think the best piece of advice that I've probably received and give others is that, today is just a day. We get so caught up in things and can get so emotional, angry, stressed, sad, depressed, whatever, about how life might be going. And you can only take on so much. And so I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I myself have learned to kind of compartmentalize things and be like, what is it that I can do right now? And what is it that needs to hold off? And I'm going to have to deal with that later, because you just can't. There's, and I grew up being told like God will only give you as much as you can handle. And I think there's truth in that, whether you believe in a higher power or not. Like, you can get through whatever you are given. You just have to figure out how to get through that specific day. And then the next day brings another and you get through that day. So if you're feeling like super alone or depressed or whatever, you need to think about what it is that's going to get you through that day and get you out of that funk for that specific moment. And doesn't have to get you out of that funk for the rest of your life. You just have to get to the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, I used to write on my whiteboard in my room, just do the next right thing. Like, and because that's all you can do sometimes. Like, you can't think so far ahead in the future and stress yourself out. Like, that's what causes anxiety, is when you're really not being in the present moment. And also trusting that your future self will figure it out, because they always have. Yeah. And so I really love that. And yeah, sometimes it's like just as simple as, whenever I am like having one of those really awful days or just like spiraling, my friend will be like, go get a glass of water, turn on Friends and wash your face and be done with the day. I'm like, yeah, that's all I need to do. And if just doing that isn't like, that's enough. It doesn't have to be anything more. And like, that is my best that I could give today. So that is what I will do. And tomorrow might be better. Who knows? Yeah.
It's all you can do. I have like very stressful times with my job, especially like it's award season and it's also New York Fashion Week and Super Bowl, and I'm being pulled in a million. And like, there's just literally no way I will finish everything I need to do in a day during that time of year, because I will work from like 6 a.m. till it's like 9 p.m. And my husband's coming in here and going like, you haven't showered. Like, it's 9 o'clock at night. It's been over 12 hours. Like, it's time to get up. And I've learned to just go, okay, that's the best I can do today.
Right.
I'm just going to shut this off and I have to go, now give myself a break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you find helps you ground yourself in the present moment when you do that?
I mean, I am so lucky that I have the best little girl here living with me. And honestly, like just a hug from her is like amazing. You know, also I have my group of best friends that from back home, that we all live in different places now, but we have a group text and they're definitely my sanity. You know, I text them, we all text each other about everything that's good or bad going on in life. And knowing that I have that support system is great. Mm-hmm. You know, my husband's great. And, you know, if it's been a really bad day, he's going to do what he can to try to relieve some stress. But honestly, just like taking myself out of the room that I'm sitting at here with this computer and just leaving it behind and shutting the door is like enough. You know, all of those things are extra and wonderful and help me keep my mental capacity, but that is enough to just shut the computer and go like, I gotta walk away from this right now and like take a deep breath, you know?
Right. And your new puppy.
And my new puppy, she's so wiggly and cute.
Oh my gosh. Like, can you bring her everywhere with you so I can meet her, please? She's so cute.
She's adorable and she's very loving. She's very snuggly.
Well, Heather, this was a lot of fun. It's always so fun when I get to talk to you. And I will also never forget, like, I mean, we had met a couple times, but then I was at Shannon's and I was going in on this buffalo chicken dip. And I was like, this is like, I think I literally made myself sick because I ate so much of it because I could not stop. And you were like, yeah, I made it. And I was like, what? Like, you are my new favorite person. I could not get over this buffalo chicken dip. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you love it. It's very easy to make, but yes, I do get a lot of compliments.
Yeah, I literally knew like 3 people when I was there and they were all like clients. And I was just like, all right, looks like I'm in the corner with buffalo chicken dip for the rest of the night. Cause I also was like Super Bowl. I don't care about football, but I was like, this buffalo chicken dip is my date for the evening, apparently.
Well, now you know, if you ever need me to bring anything, you just say,
honestly, and that's the Monica in you.
The dog and the dip.
The dog and the dip. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, well, have an amazing week ahead of you. And thank you so much for doing this. And
thanks for having me.
Of course. And I'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Enjoy your week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.